She-Hulk was one of the worst shows of 2022 and in the MCU in general, and we saw showrunners and actors call us awful things for simply criticizing the series. But now a She-Hulk writer has decided to attack fans over simply wanting Marvel to create a good show, and they lied saying it's comic accurate when there's many examples out there of why it actually isn't. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or support the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. So this is a direct article that I wanted to start with. It says She-Hulk writer calls out critics of the Disney Plus show. I would say that they're more so attacking us, but it says She-Hulk comic writer Dan Slott called out critics of the Disney Plus show inspired by his work in a tweet on Sunday. Now, you would think that this individual would know the She-Hulk comics and the work that the show was inspired from, because of course he did work on She-Hulk for years, but he really doesn't, and he's trying to defend Marvel, and this isn't really surprising now that you know it's Dan Slott. I'll go into some of his past in a minute, but it says that he wrote the She-Hulk series in the early 2000s, a run that served as a primary inspiration for the MCU's 2022 series, She-Hulk Attorney at Law. It says, though, that he calls out She-Hulk's critics. On his Twitter account, he, the writer of She-Hulk comics that inspired the show, called out those critics of said show, particularly those who claimed it wasn't comic book accurate, and he decided to say that it is the most comic book accurate show in the MCU, which is hilariously wrong. He said, "Anyone saying that the She-Hulk TV show wasn't comic book accurate, I'm the guy who has written more issues of She-Hulk than anyone. I've read every single comic from every She-Hulk run, and I'm saying for the record, it is the most comic book accurate show in the MCU." Way too many people online don't understand the difference between this was bad and this was a bad fit for me. Not everything needs to be for you. There's tons of things for you, and things that are just for you. It's okay that some things are for people who aren't you, and I would generally agree with this. Not everybody is going to love everything, but as a comic book fan, as someone who has watched MCU content for years, yes, projects do have to be for people like me. They have to be for the people who blew these series up. And with She-Hulk, we heard showrunners and writers say that they wanted to make this show for different people. They didn't want to make this for the fans who love She-Hulk. You know, they wanted to attack the trolls with this series. They wanted to make it different. She-Hulk star says the series existed as a FU to critics, and the head writer boasted, "Part of me really loves trolling the trolls." That's all they cared about with this show. They didn't actually care about making it accurate and good. They just wanted to, you know, troll the trolls, as the writer said. But this is a completely false claim that it's comic book accurate and it's the most comic book accurate series in the MCU. Look at this article. She-Hulk, 10 major changes the show made from the comics. Clearly, Dan doesn't really know what he's talking about. Yes, he knows his She-Hulk and the content that he wrote for this character, but he clearly doesn't know the content other people wrote and how this show doesn't follow source material. She-Hulk changed how Jennifer Walters acquired her powers. This was a massive problem that I and many other people had with this show. They basically decided to make her amazing from the start. She didn't have a hero's journey, you know, she didn't start as kind of a no one and she got her powers and she had to learn to use them. No, instantly from the get-go, she was smarter than, of course, male Hulk. She was stronger, faster than Bruce's Hulk, and this was a major problem. And as it says, they changed how she acquired her powers because they wanted to erase the male from her origin story. She-Hulk adapted Mr. Immortal's love life. She-Hulk changes the Light Elf's personality. She-Hulk changes Hulk's relationship with his son by making them closer. She-Hulk changed Jennifer's love life. She-Hulk changed Leapfrog's suit. As you can see, there is a just giant list of things here that they decided to change in this show, making it not source material accurate. So while yes, Dan might like the show, and that's good, I'm glad that he likes it, people who criticized it for it not being accurate are correct. But of course, again, this is coming from Dan. He is someone who goes on social media and loves to attack critics of projects and, of course, attack people for their political viewpoints. This was back in 2020. Marvel Comics Fantastic Four writer Dan Slott says, "F you if you vote for Donald Trump." Of course, he decided to attack people for their political opinions and for simply voting for someone he doesn't like. This was also a pretty massive situation that happened with him back in 2021. Marvel writer doubles down on bullying fan over Twitter activity, demands fan delete tweets discussing previous incident. Following his recent policing of a fan's Twitter activity wherein he blocked and scolded said fan simply for following various Comicsgate affiliated accounts, he has doubled down on his bullying, going on to take issue with the fan's discussion of and demanding he delete tweets related to the incident. Of course, this guy is just a massive bully. If you do not agree with him, if you don't have the same viewpoints as him, you're a disgusting, terrible human being, and this is the unfortunate viewpoint of many people working at these giant companies. You would not be able to write these comic series and write about these characters if you didn't have people like me and my audience, but he doesn't really care about that. He just feels that he is right, so he can attack whoever he wants and he can say anything he wants, even without any evidence, and that's exactly what he did here. Again, She-Hulk is not a source material accurate series. He could have come out and just said, "I like it, a lot of other people like it, if you don't like it, I don't care," and that at least would have just been his opinion, but he didn't actually do that. As you can see, when it comes to She-Hulk, it didn't go over very well with audiences. Of course, a 92% critic score. Critics absolutely ate up this show. They loved it. But the audience score paints a very different picture. It is sitting at a 33% average audience, and that's about what it deserves. I don't think that this show is going to get a season 2. We haven't heard any news about a season 2. We haven't heard anything from the actors or producers. Maybe they'll get it. Who knows? But I doubt it. And as you can see, Dan has decided to, of course, attack critics of this show by lying. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it and found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.